Some of you know this passage. If you don't, you really need to. You need to highlight it, underline it, or something. This is a very, very popular, a very well-known verse, a couple of verses. And it's going to kind of give us, it's going to really set the tone, if you will, sort of be my main passage for what I'm going to talk about today. And this is what it says: trust in the Lord with all your heart. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. I want to read that again. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and lean not. Do not trust, do not lean on, do not rely on your own understanding. In all your ways, in everything that you do, in everything that you are, in every aspect of life, in all your ways, acknowledge Him. Be mindful of Him. Realize who He is and what He can do for you, and how much you need Him to help you in your life. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and if you'll do that, He will direct your path. He will show you where to go. I'm sorry, Brianna, I almost forgot. Let me make a real quick announcement. I told her I would, and I forgot. Is it this month? It is this month?
No, it's just continually.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
This
Mhm.
teddy bear drive for
Yes.
the Highway Patrol? Okay. So they're doing that, and so we want to participate in that. We want to be a part of that and contribute to that, right? So if you have any more questions, or if you want any more information, who do they talk to? Sherry Wallace. She's not here today, but she's going to head that up. So once again, what they do, Sean, just real quick, if you don't mind, tell them what you do with those.
What we do, we carry them in our cars, and we stop a car that a kid may be going through something, we'll give it to them. Also, if you notify a family that somebody's not coming home again, they got small kids or something, we give it to them. It's just all kinds of, I've even took some pictures off and on. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference.
Okay, do they need to be any certain sizes or anything?
No,
Okay,
not just huge, something.
right.
We can carry a few in our car.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
If y'all have any more questions, you can share. And I'm sure that Sean could answer some questions as well. Yeah. Okay, just anything. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a worthy endeavor. We want to be a part of that, and we want to certainly, I'm sure that kids can be pretty traumatized in some of those situations, and so I'm sure that helps kind of calm them and give them, a better way to cope with it. So I just want to make that known before I forget. Okay, so back to this. Let me give you a title for today's message, if you need one. Today, we're going to talk about a declaration of dependence. A declaration of dependence. Of course, it's kind of a spin on the Declaration of Independence, but it's just the opposite. I'm going to challenge us all today to depend on God more than we ever have in our entire lives. And I don't know how well I will communicate it today, but I'll do the best that I can. When I think about, I've spent much time in prayer, and I feel like the Lord has spoke to me about a lot of things. And this is one of the most important things that I've gleaned from my time with Him. And basically, it's like this, we just need to get back to depending on Jesus for every single thing in our lives. I know that sounds pretty simple, and it's something that you've probably heard, possibly not the way you're going to hear it today, but I've been meditating on this, and I'll tell you, it's still a little bit too hazy for me to really fully grasp what the Lord is trying to speak to me. But I do know this, that we rely way too much on the flesh. And so does the church as a whole. I wonder how often, I thought about this as I was talking to the Lord about it, and I began to analyze and examine my own life. And I asked myself, how many times have I stood behind this pulpit and prayed the right prayer, but not really fully relied upon Him? In other words, I'm talking about this reliance that basically says, I am so insufficient. I can't pull this off unless the Lord Himself makes a way. I want to feel helpless, hopeless, and powerless unless the Holy Spirit shows up and intervenes. In whatever situation it is, maybe it's preaching the Word. I thought about worship. I thought about how many times, and it's just not about our worship team per se, it's just about worship in general, but how many times have we stood on the stage and thought, Lord, I am so inadequate. We cannot do worship today, Lord, unless you make it happen. If you don't make it happen, my voice, the words on the screen, the instruments, none of it makes any difference, to be honest, Lord. Quite frankly, it's just a lot of noise. It's just a lot of noise if you are not the author of it. Or it's Tammy teaching, or it's the nursery, or it doesn't matter. It's whatever we do. Whatever we do, do we really have such a reliance and a dependence upon God that we feel like literally we just cannot function? We can't do it. We don't want to do it. That's the key, really. Lord, I don't even want to be up here. I don't want to be behind this pulpit. I don't want to be in this position. I don't even want to be a pastor if any of it has to do with me. If it's got anything to do with my own ability or my way to spin a verse or say something clever or to share a funny or to get people engaged and to make them laugh or to make them think, all that, it's all flesh if God is not the author and finisher of it all. Does everybody understand that? Do we really, really, really believe that? Every person that sings on this stage or plays an instrument, every person that's ever taught or teaches, me as a pastor, think about it. I want to challenge you. Think about it right this moment. Did I come up here? Did I start this service today thinking, God, if you don't show up, I'll just stay home. I'm not even going to show up to church unless I know that you're there waiting on me. And I'm not going to open my mouth unless it's all because you have made it possible. I want to feel that helpless and that hopeless when it comes to the things of God. I wonder how many times we've done anything and have never truly felt that we would just be totally useless unless Christ intervened at that very moment. I jotted down some notes while we were praying this morning that the Lord was just, remember when they were in the wilderness and Moses, remember he was leading them by fire and a cloud? And basically, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but what Moses said is, he basically told the Lord, he said, you know what, if you don't go before us, we're not leaving. We're going to stay planted right where we're at. Now, you know that they could have went. They could have traveled. They were physically capable of picking up stakes, moving their tents, and moving on down the line. But they said, we don't even want to take, now, we've got to get hold of this. We don't even want to take one more step unless we know that you've already been there.
That's good.
Unless we know that we're following you. See, here's the thing, and the Lord, this was so real to me. We don't want, and I pray this way sometimes, we don't want God to help us. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but see, here's the way the prayer goes. Lord, help us, help me to do this. Help us to help me to preach a good sermon. Help me to, articulate your word. Help me to, and all that sounds good, and it is sincere, and it is legit. But really, the way we ought to approach everything that we do, especially when it comes to church and ministry, is this. In fact, I'm going to read it to you exactly the way that I wrote it down as me and the Lord were talking about it. And I don't even know if I wrote it down. It may still be up here. So anyway, this is the way I want to say it. What we do is we ask for God to help us. And first thing you're thinking is, yeah, is that okay? That shows dependency, right, Sean? It does, but what about, let me tell you where I'm trying to get to. Is I want to help him. Does that make sense? See, this is his service. This is his pulpit. This is his word. I don't need him to help me do this. I need him to do it and let me just come along and see if there's anything I can do to help. Now, when you think of it in that perspective, everything changes. Lord, help us worship. Lord, help me preach the word. Lord, help me teach the kids. Lord, help me to do this. And I believe sometimes God has said, I'll tell you what, why don't you let me do that, and why don't you help me?
Amen. That's good.
Because if I'm helping you, who's in control? I am. If I need him to help me, help me do this, when God is saying, you know what, why don't you let me do that? And if I need your help, I'll let you know.
Oh, man.
Why don't you ask me, Lord, is there some small way that I can serve? You preach this word today. You get up here. You stand behind this pulpit. You preach to your people. You can take on, you can take on my face and the person of who I am, but you do it. And then if you want my help, then I'm here. I'm willing to submit. I'm willing to serve you. You see how that changes everything? Or you lead us in worship. This is your stage. They're your songs. It's all about you. It's your mouths that are singing. It's your creation that's plucking those strings or playing those keys. It's all you. We get no credit.
Amen.
We don't want it. So we don't want to put on a show up here and say, hey, would you anoint what we're doing? We want you to do it all. And then whatever small part our flesh can play by the talents and gifts you've given us, we'll join in and we'll tag along and help out if you need it. But if you don't need us at all, then we'll just sit down and shut up and let you do it all. I don't know why, but that was such a revelation to me. It's not about him helping me. It's about me just being willing and making myself available to him as he does it all. That's dependence. That's a declaration of dependence. That's coming to a place that you are so much at the end of yourself that you realize that you are so incredibly, you know what? Everybody that's ever started a ministry needs to hear this, and I mean it in sincerity, but you are so insignificant. I mean, guys, you know what? You know how many people can get behind this pulpit and repeat words on a page and then offer some insight based on what they've discovered in prayer? Anybody can do that. There's nothing, and that's not false humility. I'm trying to be honest here. There is nothing special or unique about me. I know some of the word. I do some praying, and I try to hear from God. I try to give you I try to peel back some layers so you get a little bit deeper meaning of what the word is talking about, because most people don't really, know it more on a more of a superficial level, So you come to a guy like me, you come to a church like this, and you let a guy preach to you and tell you what that really means based on what he's read and what he's learned in prayer. It doesn't make me anything special, but I tell you what, if God is preaching, if God is here, if Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit and the Father are all here, and they are speaking their own word into your hearing, and they're just allowing me to be a mouthpiece, that changes everything. Now there's life. Now there's healing. Now there's salvation. Now there's restoration. Now miracles and signs and wonders, all that stuff can happen because it's not me, it's him.
That's right. Amen.
He's not helping me. I'm just making myself available to him. I'll tell you somebody else that relied heavily on the Father, and that was his Son. Look at John 5:19. Then Jesus answered, I know if you've ever read this, you probably thought, what did he mean by that? Then Jesus answered and said to them, most assuredly I say to you, now look at this, the Son can do nothing of himself. Now tell me if that does not confuse you as much as it does me. The Son, Jesus Christ, the Son, can do nothing of himself. What? You notice Son is capitalized, Lord. That makes you somebody important. That makes you deity. You can do nothing of yourself, but I can see I can only do what the Father does. For whatever he does, I'll do in like manner. But nevertheless, Jesus, being the divine, eternal Son of God, says that about, I can't do anything of myself. I do what he does.
Amen.
He does it, and I emulate that. But I'm not doing it. He did it. He gets the credit. He's the one that started this whole thing. He's the one, because remember, Jesus was God, but he was man too, right? He was clothed in human flesh. The Bible says that he was tempted in all ways as we were. He knew sorrow. He knew betrayal. He knew agony. He knew a lot of the things and a lot of the feelings that we have. You look over in the same chapter, verse 30. I can of myself do nothing. Now listen to me. Now we say it because we know it's the right words, but when's the last time we said that? And that was such a reality that it came from the depths of our spirit. When we looked at ourselves in the mirror, or we cast our eyes towards heaven and said, you know what? I can't do anything. I can do absolutely nothing, God. I mean, I am absolutely 100%, undoubtedly, unquestionably powerless without your Spirit. I can do nothing. And yet the Son of God said it about himself, and we can manage to do so much in the flesh. I can of myself do nothing. As I hear, I judge. My judgment is righteous because I do not seek my own will, but the will of the Father who sent me. Then you look over to John 8:28. Then Jesus said to them, when you lift up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am He. Watch this now. And that I do nothing of myself. But as my Father taught me, I speak these things. You understand that the Son of God, we all know who we're talking about here.
Amen.
Jesus Christ is making it crystal clear in the gospel that, you know what? I don't do anything of my own accord. I do what he tells me to do.
Amen.
So see, God, the Father, still is the originator. He's still the creator. He's the author. And then Christ is so in perfect sync and harmony with the will of God that He is literally God in the flesh. That is so important. Because I'm going to tell you something. If Jesus says these words, I can do nothing of myself, where does that leave me and you?
Oh, amen.
So we can't just make it. We can't. Yeah, okay. We can. We can create false fire. Churches do it every Sunday. But if we're going to do it right, and we really want the Spirit of God to move, we want the songs that we sang this morning to be a reality, then we have got to get out of the way. We've got to make a declaration of dependence. We've got to understand that we are totally dependent and reliant upon the Spirit of God if we're going to do anything that's worthwhile. Danielle can't just get up here and play just because she can play and sing. I can't just get up here and open up the book and start preaching because I know how. If we can do it in the flesh, but there is going to be a significant difference between doing it in the flesh and doing it filled, empowered, and led by the Spirit of God.
Amen.
And we will never be led by the Spirit until we are empty of self.
It's good.
When we get on this stage, me and every one of you on this worship team, I don't mean to pick on y'all today, but we're the ones that I'm thinking about people that are in front and serve a lot. We ought to come up on this stage. I think of it in this terms. I think of it as, having to defuse a bomb. You know, if you were to come up here and there was a bomb ticking, and you thought, I can't, you know, this thing's going to blow up if somebody a lot smarter than me doesn't show up and fix it. Right? We ought to step up on this stage like, man, nothing's going to happen out here. Nothing. Nothing is going to happen out there. Not if it's up to me. I don't care if I can sing like whoever, it doesn't matter. I don't care who I sing. I don't care if I sing like, you know, Carrie Job or if I preach like Charles Spurgeon, it doesn't matter. None of that's going to matter. If Jesus Christ, the one that makes all this happen, if I am not stepping on this stage so incredibly inadequate and unqualified and empty and worthless and hopeless and helpless, if I don't step up here with that attitude and that humility just flows out of me because I know I can do nothing of myself. But you know what we do most of the time? And I'm talking about me. I know I can preach. I know I can sing. I know I can play. So I'll just get up here. The words will pop up and I'll sing them and we'll do worship. I'll just come up here. The verses will pop up. I'll read them. I'll elaborate on them. I'll expound on them. And I'll preach. And that's what we do. And that's what every church does. I don't know if I'm communicating this well, but I'm going to tell you something. There is a completely different place in God and in church when the flesh is crucified and people realize that they can do nothing. Can't do anything. Well, before we come up here, every Sunday we ought to say, I'm not even going to bother getting up there, Lord. Let's just get this figured. Let's just work on this right now. I'm not getting on that stage. I just won't. I'm not going if you don't go cool. It's that simple. I'd rather stay where I'm at than to move when you have not moved in front of me and you have not moved before me. Now look at this, John 15:5. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. Without me, you can't do anything. You can do nothing. Jesus said, Sean, listen, without me, son, you can't do anything. Oh, you can open your mouth and you can tell a few stories and you can repeat some verses, but without me, your ministry will never amount to anything. Without me, worship will never be anything but dead and lifeless. So see, here's the thing. Jesus says, I can do nothing of myself. I need the Father. And then Jesus turns around and says, but you can't do anything without me. So he doesn't do anything without him. We don't do anything without Jesus. Amen?
Amen.
That's how this thing works. Christ depended fully upon the Father, could do nothing without him, and we can do nothing without fully depending upon Christ. As one Chinese missionary said of American church, I'm amazed at how much they can accomplish without God.
That's right.
I don't think, do you guys, how many of y'all would look forward or would want to be here if Jesus were to say, you know what, come tonight, come to church, and I'm going to peel back the curtain, and I'm going to show you how much you do in the flesh. I would say, Lord, please don't make me be there. I don't want to see that. Acts 17:25-28, Paul said, in him we live and move and have our being. In him. In him we live, in him we move, and in him we have our being. We've got to rid ourselves of flesh if we are to ever experience the fullness of Christ. Kenny and I prayed briefly this morning before we left, and this is one thing that we prayed about. Let us be hidden so that you can be seen. You ever feel like you're just in the way? You ever feel like you're just, sometimes God's like, you're photobombing him. You know what I'm saying? God's like, hey, Jesus is like, hey, this is all about me. Get out of the picture. Just get out of the picture, Sean. You can't do anything without me anyway. It's my deal. It's my church. Those are my people. This is my salvation. This is my book. All of it belongs to me. I only allow you to be a part of it. This is my show.
That's right.
Praise Him, Lord.
And the quicker that we come to realize that, the more you receive. Amen? As you out there in those pews, guess what? You know what you want more than anything is for Sean to die. So that he can live. You want this worship team to die to their flesh. And they're not fleshy, I'm not saying that. They're wonderful people. I'm just saying, we all need a little crucifixion once in a while, right?
That's right.
We all need to rid ourselves of us and come up here empty and say, Lord, if you don't fill me with your Spirit, and if you don't sing through me, if you don't play through me, then just cancel it all, I'm going home. And so should they. Because it won't be worth hearing. We have so much confidence in the flesh. Look what Paul said about the flesh in Romans 7:18. He said, I know this. Well, I know some of you guys can say amen to this because we've talked about it, because men know this better than anybody. I know that in me that is in this flesh, nothing good dwells.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, you take Christ, however much or little of him that I may have, you take him you pull him out of me, and you leave me with me, and listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm just not a great person.
That's right.
I'm not. I wasn't. I proved it, and I wouldn't be again, apart from Christ. So isn't it ironic that that so much of what we do today in ministry and in church and in our lives, in our relationship with God, so much of it is done in the flesh, and yet the flesh is terribly wicked and there's nothing good about it. So where does that leave us? It leaves us frustrated, inconsistent, prone to sin, and not ever really living a victorious life because our flesh is dominating when the Spirit of God is crying out and trying to rise up in us. Whether it's at work or in marriage or our children or our addictions or sins or ministry, even our own relationship with Christ, we control it all.
That's right.
We do. I mean, let's just keep it real today. We do. We say, Lord, I'm just giving this to you. And they're words, guys. They're just words. Would anybody be willing to admit
Amen.
that a lot of what we pray is just words that we know?
That's right.
They're prayers that we know that we're supposed to pray, but there's no real heart behind them. Or maybe it's just me, but I'm giving this to you, Lord. Lord, I need to pray about this situation. And the whole time, God's saying, Charlotte, seriously, you don't even mean what you're saying. You're not really giving that to me. And I'll tell you how I can prove it. It's because you're anxious. You have all this anxiety and fear. If you really thought, how many of y'all, if you really believe that, now work with me, if you really believe that Christ had 100% full control of a situation, how many of you could find some peace in that? If you knew that Jesus Christ himself picked it up and said, I'll take care of this. No matter what it looked like, no matter what the situation looked like, if you knew that Christ had this, if you knew that he was willing to take it and fix it or do whatever he wanted to do with it, how many of you feel like you could breathe a sigh of relief and say, man, that was heavy. I'm so glad to get that off my back. I'm so glad that Jesus has got this. I don't have to worry about it. How many of y'all would feel that way? Amen?
Amen. That's right.
We don't. So something's going on here. Either we've really given it to him and depended on him to take care of it, or we haven't. Hey, I'm talking about me. There's things in my life right now that I pray about, and I stress over big time. I'm talking about to a level of sin. I stress over them. And the whole time God's saying, Sean, do you want me to handle it or not? Because if you want me to get it, I need you to stop threatening. I need you to stop. Now, I'm not saying there's not things that God will tell us to do when he's working. We need to be obedient. We need to pray. We need to, if God's telling us to do something and be involved in this process, we need to. But remember that peace that Paul said, there's a peace that passes all understanding when we're not anxious and we give it all to God. You see how much we still control. We wonder why our lives are in a tangled mess. And the whole time God is saying, you still have not truly depended on me and trusted me. You still are thinking that you can get this figured out. Do you know the reason why we don't pray? I know some of you are going to write this down because you're thinking, all right, this is profound. Well, this is what the Lord told me this morning. And I believe it. The reason why we don't pray is because we don't depend on God. It's that simple. We don't pray because we don't depend on Him. We don't pray because the reason why you pray is because it shows that you are completely depending upon God to meet your need or to whatever your situation is. So when we don't feel the necessity to pray, you can guarantee that the reason is because we have not given anything to His control. We are still taking care of it on our own. That's why we don't consult Him. Whenever we find ourselves in prayer, think about it. When you really are driven to prayer, you know why? Because it's outside of your control.
That's
It's
right.
because you're sick. It's because you've gotten a bad report. It's because something tragic. And I hope you guys are okay with that, but I'm just saying that happens a lot, don't you think? Our prayer life can sure come to life whenever we're in desperate need, right? But what if we considered every day a desperate need? What if every day that we opened our eyes, we felt like, I can't go through a day without God. I can't make it through this day unless God is actively involved in my life and He takes control of it. I'm just depending on, I want to be like a 6-month-old child. I just want to feel like I cannot feed myself, I cannot clothe myself, I cannot protect myself unless you are right here with me and you take control of the whole situation. If we were totally dependent upon Christ for everything and we really felt that, unless He manifested Himself in that situation, we could do nothing, how much time do you suppose that we would spend asking Him for direction and favor and anointing and provision and help and 1,000 other things? If we really thought that everything in our lives flowed out of heaven and flowed out of Christ, if we really believe that with all of our hearts, that nothing happens and nothing good can happen in our life apart from Christ, that He has to be over all of it, how much time would we spend in His presence? We don't. Because our flesh says, I can handle it, I can take care of it. We don't mean to be arrogant in thinking that we can do it on our own, but nevertheless, we most certainly do think that most of the time. How many times have we approached a Sunday morning service like this one with zero confidence in ourselves to make it happen? One of these days, I'm going to be crying my eyes out at this altar on Sunday morning during prayer. Just saying, oh God, if you don't show up, I've come here for nothing. I have arrived in this place, and I have nothing to say to them. I have nothing to give because I can do nothing without you. I just need you, Lord. I need it to be so obvious, so apparent that you are in control and I am simply a servant. I am simply making myself available to you, Lord. But make no mistake, this is your deal. And out of that awareness, it drove us to cry out to the only one that can make things happen. I've come to realize that I don't really depend on Him unless it's completely and totally out of my control. He's running the show, not us, so we don't need His help. We need to help. We need Him to do it all, and then we need to make ourselves available to assist Him in any way He may allow us to do so. He is always looked upon as our assistance that will make it go smoother or better when we need to step back into the shadows and just assist Him when we're needed. You know, I think about the church of Laodicea. Let me read this right here. You know, I was thinking about this when we were praying this morning. If we want God to bless something, this is what I felt the Lord say to me when I was praying this morning. You know, because, well, God, can you bless this, and God, can you do this? And here's the thing. The Lord is going to say this. Do I own it? Is that mine? I only bless what's mine. He blesses you because you belong to Him. You're bought with a price, right? You're His possession, and He'll bless you. But, Lord, I need you to help bless my finances. Well, that depends, Sean. Are they mine? Do I have control over that, or you? Are you asking me to bless something that you're controlling? Lord, I need you to bless my marriage. Is it your marriage or is it my marriage? Because if it's your marriage, I won't bless. If it's my marriage, I'll bless it. But I'm not going to bless anything that you're trying to control, and you just want me to help out when you get in a fix.
That's right.
What if God only blesses what He owns? Because I'll tell you, I believe that could very well be the case. We talked about how there's something else that I was praying about. We talk about how we can speak to the mountain, and we can't, speak to this mountain, be thou removed, cast to the sea. Some of you know that passage. But it's Mark 11, by the way. But so yeah, you said, well, Sean, I depend on God, but I also have authority, and I can speak things on my own. I am a child of God. I do have a certain authority. Yes, you do. But have you ever considered when we talk about how we can speak to mountains and the word of faith and, speak it and claim it, blab it and grab it, how we talk about all that, do we ever consider the conditions that lead up to that profession? Because let me tell you, there are some. Are we praying according to God's will? 1 John 5:14 talks about how this confidence we have that if we pray anything according to His will, He hears us. If we pray anything according to His will, He hears us. Well, how do I know if it's God's will? Through prayer, through submission, through total reliance and dependency upon God. Is it His will? Is it His mountain to be moved? Is it His power that we're relying on to move it? There's a lot more involved than simply speaking what you want and claiming what you want. And the reason why I bring that into this message is this. Once again, it's self-reliance. You see that? The church has gotten in this independent, self-reliant state, and we wonder why there's no power and there's no fire. Because the power and the fire are in the Spirit of God, are in Christ. And if He is not in control, folks, it's just the way things are. I didn't make it so. I didn't write it. I didn't create this. But here's the way things work. If Jesus Christ does not fully control something, then He won't mess with it. Amen? Church, here's what we have got to do. I'm going to tell you something. This church will never, I don't want to tell you this, but this church will never survive if it's built on my preaching. This church will never survive if it's built on this worship. This church will never survive if it's built on the members that sit in the pews this morning. This church will only survive if it's completely submitted and surrendered to the Lordship of Jesus Christ, and if we are totally dependent upon Him for it to do anything worthwhile. Because I'm just, are y'all getting this morning?
Amen.
Listen, I want to speak to you as an individual. Whatever you're facing in your life, whatever you're going through, or whatever you've gone through, it doesn't matter. I want to tell you something. Until you have completely depended on God to fix it, you are wasting your time. Because you'll never figure it out. Not ever. You know that, right? You've tried and you have failed. I'm really trying to help you today because this is what the Lord is. I know that He's trying to help me. I know He's trying to say, Sean, I'll tell you what, when you start really surrendering some of those things in your life, you're just asking me to aid you in what you're already doing. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not some little bellhop. I'm not some little servant that runs around helping you put out fires. It's frustrating. Golly. I just know God sometimes wants to say, Sean, you've read it. You know how this works, son. Aren't you tired of stressing and having anxiety all the time? Wouldn't you like to really just depend on me for a change? Stop depending on luck. Stop depending on your own effort. Stop depending on, chance. Sure, this will eventually work out. But I tell you what, and I'm working on it, okay? I'm not there, but I'm working on making the shift from controlling all this and having fear, anxiety, and stress and fretting over all this and just asking God to bless this mess I'm working from getting there to, this isn't my problem. I can't, I'm not worried because I can't fix anything. I can't fix this, I can't fix this, I can't fix that. I can't fix that, Lord. So I'm not going to sit over here and worry about it. Because here's the deal. If you don't fix it, it don't get fixed. Amen? If you don't fix this, I told him that today on some things. If you don't fix this, it doesn't get fixed. It's that simple. Now, once again, if he says, well, here's what you're going to do, we're going to work together, and here's what I pray and I obey. I get that. I don't mean you just sit back and just kick back and say, okay, God, you just take care of it. It's all good. You say, you know what? You're in control. I depend on you, Lord, 100% for all of this. You tell me what I'm supposed to do. What is the part that I play? What role do I play in resolving this situation? I will. But make no mistake, no matter what I do, it's ineffective and it's useless without your help. And folks, listen to me. Last time I want to tell you this today. The church, churches can exist. Churches can function. They do all the time. But if you have any desire whatsoever for our church to be just as real and genuine and godly and Spirit-led and Christ-centered as it possibly can be, we have got to make sure that we are not depending or relying on what we can do. Because I'll tell you, we'll run out. Clever sayings will run out. Anointed singing will run out. It's got to be God. It's got to be all Jesus or it's nothing. It's worthless. It's just a building and we're just a gathering. We're not the church. The only way we're the church is if we collectively as a family, sincerely, I'm talking about earnestly, can confess and can say this morning, God, we are powerless. We can do nothing of ourselves. We've tried at times, and that's why it's failed. Lord, if you don't go before us, we won't go anywhere. Some of you, I'm just trying to help you because I love you this morning, and I know that you're going through things, but listen, you still haven't given it to God. You still are hanging on to it. Get your hands off of it. Do you hear me? Get your hands off of that thing that you keep praying about. Get your hands off of it. God has no desire, Christ has no desire to bless something that you're controlling. He just doesn't. He wants you to relinquish it and say, and let me tell you something. Let me help you. When you do that, you're going to feel a huge sense of relief. I did today. I said, Lord, I love you, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but God, that is not my problem. If it were my problem, then it would be up to me to fix it. But since it isn't, respectfully, it's your deal. You're the miracle worker. All you need for me to do is just lay it on the altar and say, okay, that's not mine anymore. Preaching, it's not my deal. Worship, that's not our deal. That's your deal. We're just humble servants. But it all hinges, it all rises and falls on whether or not you're in control. In church, if we ever get a hold of that, and we finally let go and let God, it's more than just a cliche, it's true. If we ever do that, everything is going to change. Everything will change. Father, I pray this morning that my brothers and sisters, Lord, you love them so much more even than I do. But I pray for every family. I pray for every person that's going through something. I pray for every individual that has somehow convinced themselves. It's so easy, God. This is not a rebuke. It's not about that. It's about healing. It's about answers. It's about solutions. And I just pray, Lord, that this morning, if this word meant anything to them, I pray that at this very moment, maybe they've never thought of it that way. And they're like, you know what? I do have my hands on that, Sean. I do. I'm asking God to bless something that I'm still controlling. No wonder He hasn't. Because it's not His. do with my hands on it. But it's so hard, Sean. It's so hard to let go of that because that requires faith and patience. And yes, I'll admit it does. And I'll admit it. That's one of the most difficult things you're going to do is let go of something. We're just not, as humans, we're just not like that. We like to retain a little bit of control. So if he doesn't come through, we can fix it. But then when you say that, how ridiculous is that saying? Do yourself a favor today, church. Do yourself a favor today, brother, sister, family, Christian, lost, whoever you are today. Do yourself a favor. Let it go. Get rid of it. Lay it on an altar. In your mind right now, place that on an altar. Place that thing on an altar. Place that sin on an altar. Place your relationship on an altar. Place your gifting and your talent and your ministry on an altar. Crucify your flesh today. Say, God, burn up everything in me that's not of you. I don't want anything to remain but that which is of God. Don't let me preach another sermon. Don't let me sing another song without giving full control, being fully dependent and reliant upon you, so much so that I will not even open my mouth if I don't believe and I don't know in my heart that you're filling it. Otherwise, it's flesh, it's idolatry, and I am done with that. Brother, lay that stuff on an altar. You better let go of it. I'm telling you, the more you hang on to it, it's going to get out of control. Let it go. Give it to God. Tell Him that you're powerless. But by His Spirit, you can do all things, but only if He is in control. Father, I pray that your word has touched somebody's life today. All I'm trying to do is to get all of our people and this pastor, all I'm trying to do is help them stop fighting battles that they can't win. Stop fighting battles that you cannot win. Place them in the care and the authority and in the control of the one who can. And find some freedom today, brother. Find some freedom today, sister. Give it to God. Declaration of dependence right now. Lord, we declare today that we are going to strive every day to be more dependent upon you than we've ever been. Then we can see you do some really awesome things. We love you, Lord. I thank you for your word today. You really will speak if we'll just listen. I thank you for these people today. I thank you for their heart. I know they love you. I pray that today your word has helped them get a little bit more victory in their life, get a little bit closer to you, and free themselves from some anxieties and fears that you really never wanted them to have. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Listen, I love you guys.